Hey y'all, what's up? It's Saniyah, aka Miss JG. Hey y'all, what's up? It's Saniyah, aka Miss JG, and today I'm coming back on YouTube after I want to say 8 months of me being gone. I'm sorry y'all, I am so sorry. I've been posting on TikTok a little bit. I've been, sparingly active on Instagram, but I've been living life. I mean, there are some low points that I've experienced last year, which was a part of the reason why I wasn't able to come back on YouTube as frequently as I would want to. But also just living life in general. Like, if you've seen my most recent shorts, you'll see what my last 6 months were looking like. I celebrated my birthday in Greece while I was studying abroad from January to April. I'm interning now in a state that's about a 16-hour drive away from where I live. So it's been a lot going on in my life so far. And some things I'm withholding on, some things I'm not mentioning for now, but trust me, it's been a minute. I wanted to come on and just talk with y'all because that's another reason I wasn't able to just come on and start filming as much as I usually was, because I wasn't just in a position where I could just sit down and talk for an extended period of time. Even now, like, I'm re-recording the beginning of my video because people just love to drive. People just love to drive super loud next to my car. Mind you, the car I just heard was not even as loud as it gets. Like, people will play their music super loud any time of the day when people are trying to sleep. I get it, it's the weekend, people are partying and all that, but I've heard people do this on a Tuesday night before people have to go to work. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, if you read the title of this video, you are going to see that it says 21 things I learned at 21 years old. I turned 21 in January of this year, so I've been 21 for about 6 months now, and I'm not an expert by any means. I'm not somebody's Dr. Phil, Iyanla, anything of the sort. Whatever I'm giving, I'm either learning from my own experiences, drawing from other people's experiences that I've grown up around, or people who I've watched in life. Like, just things that I feel like I would have loved to learn, but things that I feel like should have just really been hammered home to not just me, but to people who are in the same position as me. So I mean, not to dilly-dally, but let's get into it. I'm not that old, but 21 things are a lot of things, so let's get started. Number one, comparison will always be the thief of joy. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever you're meant to be in life, you are meant to be it. Like the Abraham Lincoln quote says, whatever you are, be a good one. God put you on this earth for a reason. There is nobody that's going to take that away from you. There's nobody that's going to stop you from being who you are, but the only decision that you get to make in that is what you choose to do with that. So either you hone that or you suppress that. Number two, find a healthy balance between taking yourself seriously and being lighthearted. When I was younger, I definitely struggled a lot with like just being a little serious pants all the time. Like, a lot of things I took way too seriously. I was way too like on all the time. I thought I was about to like write a Pulitzer Prize winning bestseller at like 13. I was not I was not really prepared for how life was gonna go in like the opposite sense. And usually when people think about people being like preteens and things like that, it's almost the opposite direction, where you're just class clowning all the time and being like super rambunctious and immature and things like that. I definitely was immature, but I was mature in like the fake way. I'll even say I was annoying in middle school. I had friends that I met in middle school that I'm still friends with now, but to be honest, like, I definitely would have irked myself if I were to go back in time and see my middle school self. I've seen videos and clips of myself in that time, and I was like, girl, stop, please. Like, it's not that deep. And as soon as not as soon as, but like when I got to high school and like I was like kind of just faced with a lot of different realities, and I was just experiencing like different facets of life, I was like, you know what, there are things that I'm going to take seriously in this life because I have to, but then there are things that in life that I'm taking seriously because I choose to. And if this is something that's running up my blood pressure for no reason, if this is something that is making me sad, making me angry, making me lash out in ways that are not typical to my character, I'm just gonna let that go. That's no, like, you're not gonna stress me out. And then when I became an adult and I started paying some of my own bills, like, granted, thank God I'm not paying my own rent right now. I'm not paying my own like super serious bill, but I'm paying like my phone bill, my credit card bill, and things like that. Like, I've just paid off my phone, and I'll be damned if somebody is cursing me out and stressing me out on a phone that I'm paying for. Please. Number three, Do not take advice from anybody who wants you to suffer in the same way that they suffered, i.e. somebody who cannot keep a situationship alive but is telling you all this toxic relationship advice, or somebody who cannot hold $10 giving you finance tips. No. Granted, you can cherry pick and pick whatever you want from these people if it makes sense, and I'm not saying this to say that everybody who is giving you advice, who just so happens to be in a certain position in life, is giving that advice because they hate you. If I were to say that, I would sound extremely immature, and I would sound like exactly what a lot of like average 21-year-olds sound like. Oh my god, you're saying this because you're jealous because I'm young, hot, and pretty. But no, like in all actuality though, I have met people who at 9 or 10, and they were like in their 20s and 30s, they were in one place. Now I'm in my 20s, they're in like their 30s and 40s, they are in that exact same place, and I'm in a place where I could be like, dare I say, surpassing, and it's almost like, oh, excuse little girl, like what do you mean you're doing this, and what do you mean you're doing that? Some people will really take it personally that you are achieving success, and those are the type of people who you kind of have to be careful about taking advice from, letting them like into your life about certain problems and things like that, like internalizing the things that they say to you, because again, like this because like the age-old saying says, misery loves company. I am just going to ignore the cards, and I hope you guys can ignore the cards too, because this clearly is not going away. I filmed at this particular time of day hoping it was going to be better, but I guess not. Number 4, this is going to seem like a little backtracky, but stay with me. Number 4, also don't take advice from people who could never relate to you, like where you are. For example, I hate when people who were born into wealth want to give financial tips on this social media, who their parents were millionaires, but they want to tell you that all you have to do is stop going to the local coffee shops and you'll be a millionaire too. People who have never a day in their life struggled with insecurity, people who come on this app who are born with clear skin, who never had a blemish nor wrinkle nor nothing on their face. Everybody in their family has a life expectancy of 100 years old, but they're coming out with a skincare line, they're coming out with this, they're coming out with that, giving advice about what you need to do with your skin, or better yet, they're giving confidence tips, and the confidence tip is just, be confident. How could you hate yourself? It's so easy, just be confident. Come on, girl. And also buy my $40, like, you see what I, like, that would piss me off. That pisses me off now, actually, because it's like, girl, you don't know what it's like to be sitting in your room, looking in the mirror, picking apart the features that God gave you. And you're not supposed to do it, obviously. Like, the ultimate goal is to just be confident. But a lot of people don't get there, especially when you're in an environment, like when you're not blessed to be in an environment where you are embraced. I grew up in a predominantly Black neighborhood and area, so I can't say I grew up with a lot of racism, probably colorism, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But as far as racism goes, like, I never went to school with a bunch of like angry like white kids calling me the N-word or whatever else, but there are some Black kids who have been in environments like that, who have been asked the questions like that are like have racist undertones and overtones, who've been told they can't play at somebody's house because of the color of their skin, or better yet, been pressing their hair so there's not an ounce of curl left because of them not being the standard, or them not being the preference. That's not something I've had to deal with, but that's something that a lot of people who are my complexion, who are my race, have had to deal with if they grew up in predominantly white areas. So if you're just telling these people to just be confident, girly, and you were in a position where you never had to deal with any of that, cherry pick whatever advice helps you, but don't internalize what a lot of these people are saying either, because if they're making it seem like it's so easy and how come you're not doing it, 9 times out of 10 they never have to deal with it in the first place. I promise you that. Number 5, when you wish and pray for somebody's life, you're also praying for their demons, you're also praying for their struggles. Listen, everybody loves the idea of following people on social media for inspo. Oh my God, look at that girl. Oh my God, look at her apartment. Look at her body. Look at this, look at that. And just picking yourself apart, basing your life off of what these people are dealing with. Mind you, look, if you already can't deal with your own problems, what makes you think you can deal with theirs? I had to learn that lesson, thankfully not the hard way, but I had to learn that lesson like through watching other people kind of wish and envy and pray and wish upon a star for these types of lives. They get the life and they're still miserable. Like, think about it now. Like, think of how many celebrities who have gotten caught talking shit about other celebrities before they were famous, and then they're still miserable. Like, they're still online arguing back and forth with trolls on social media because deep down they truly are not happy, because the money didn't solve anything. The money just amplified what was already wrong with them. Because if you refuse to fix something that's wrong, if you refuse to go to the core of what the issue is, having money is not going to change anything. Having a bag, having a stylist, having access and having things like that are not going to change that. So comparing yourself to these people, wishing for these people, wishing to switch places and all that, trust me, if I had even a tenth of the money that a lot of people have on social media, most of my problems would not be problems anymore. However, does that mean that I'm just suddenly not gonna have problems in my life anymore? No, I'm just gonna evolve new ones. I'm just gonna adopt new ones. And that's something that I'm going to have to deal with. So it's like, okay, granted, I'm still gonna get the money. Don't play with me on that. I'm still going to get the bread. However, I'm not going to do that by comparing myself to another person's life and modeling my life choices after what I think this person's life looks like. Number 6, just because you shouldn't model your life after somebody and try to, play copycat, that doesn't mean you shouldn't still learn from the mistakes that other people make. If you see somebody put their hand on a hot fire and burn themselves, you don't have to also put your hand on a fire and burn yourself to know that, this fire may be dangerous. This fire may burn people. So I'm not gonna put my hand over the hot fire. So simple as that. Like, if somebody is living their life and they happen to make a choice that you were planning on making and it goes one way or the other, learn from what they did. Revise the things that they did so you don't have to go through as much struggle, if any, that they gone through. Number 7, and this is something that I don't see a lot of people talk about in there, what I learned at blank age, even people who are in like their 30s, 40s talk about. Number 7, you will always be the villain in somebody's story, and you have to learn to accept it. Whether it's intentional or not, you have to take responsibility for the fact that the choices that you make, as much as they can positively affect somebody and lead somebody to an inspirational lifestyle and uplift them, it could also degrade them. It could also lead somebody down a darker path than what they would have initially gone on. And again, this doesn't mean you're a malicious person. It doesn't mean anything like that. However, I have to sit with the fact that there are probably decisions that I've made, things I've said to people, things I've done to people, even if it's offhandedly, that could have really messed with somebody's mental, that they probably still would be sitting with to this day. And I'll say this, however it may sound, I do truly apologize if, even if it was unintentionally, I'm causing you pain and I'm causing you trauma that you're still having to sit with, because I personally know what that's like to have to sit with memories that I can still draw back from that have happened years before, because some like stupid ass kid is saying something to you that if I were to ask this kid about now in the current day, they probably wouldn't even remember it. So I take responsibility for the fact that I am not a person that wants to maliciously hurt people, that wants to attack people, but at the same time, I most likely have. Most people have. And that's just something that you have to use as a tool of growing. If you were to sit here and say, oh, I'm nice to everybody and I'm never mean to anybody and I'm never gonna be mean to anybody, so that means that no, like, even if it's something you do unintentionally, you have to be able to grow from your experiences. Everybody says that. However, people also don't talk about growing from the experiences where you were directly in the wrong. Number 8, and this is a big one, when you surround yourself with people who thrive off of negativity, and I'm talking about all they do is just sit and talk shit about people, all they do is they're just mad and miserable all the time, everything in their life is something to be talked about. Granted, I've met people who have genuinely been down on their Granted, I've met some people who have genuinely been down on their luck, and I'm talking like down in the dumps, like they, like 10 million things have happened to them all at once, but they still managed to get up and they still managed to push. Mind you, this is not some toxic positivity thing where it's like, oh my gosh, no matter what the world throws at you, you need to get up and keep trying because blah, blah, blah. No, you're gonna have bad days. People are going to have bad days, and this isn't me saying that that's not the case. However, there's a difference between having bad days and digesting that and dealing with that as you may, versus every single waking moment of your life you just want to be miserable and nothing in your life is positive, and you choose to bring that energy onto other people, because that's always what's going to happen. I've always been told growing up that it's easier to pull somebody down than it is to lift somebody up. Like, if you're standing on a high platform and you're trying to pull somebody up by their arms, it's going to be harder on you, on your back, to lift that person up than it's going to be for them to be sitting on the ground with gravity to their advantage, no matter how much they weigh, no matter how big they are, to pull you down to the level that they are. So you have to take that into consideration when it comes to the people that you hang out with and choose to have long conversations with and confide in and internalize things from, because you do not want to live your life with a negative shroud of whatever just sitting and looming over your head. Number 9, this kind of relates back to number 8, but A lot of the times when people say that, oh, I'm just real, I'm just a realist, I'm just a truth teller, I'm just this, I'm just that, a lot of them are just bullies and contrarians, because 9 times out of 10, they are never brutally honest, they're never real, they're never this and that with positivity. Think about it like this, like when somebody's talking about the fact that they're brutally honest, or oh, I just tell it like it is, they're never saying that in reference to them saying, oh my God, girl, I really love your hair. Oh my God, girl, you're really beautiful. Oh my gosh, like this house, this apartment is decorated really nicely. No, it's almost always in reference to, yeah, girl, your wig is fucked up. Yeah, you're broke. Yeah, this person looks dirty. Like everything coming out of your mouth, or better yet, everything coming out of your mouth is just to disagree with somebody. You know, I don't digest the popular opinions, and I'm an independent thinker, and you know you're not an independent thinker if you make a concerted effort to think the opposite of the popular opinion, right? Because contrary to popular belief, if you make a concerted effort to think the opposite of whatever the popular opinion is, you are also letting your mind be informed by popular opinions. You're just doing it in the opposite way. So you're not truly an independent thinker. You just want to be a contrarian. And with these people, you have to be careful about what you internalize, because they'll be saying all this stuff and you're like, yeah, I love to challenge myself like this person, and I want to do X, Y, and Z. And this person doesn't even believe half the stuff that they're saying. This person also lives in a shroud of negativity, because like I just said before, this person is never this real about somebody who looks nice. They're never this real about somebody who they like. It's always about dislike. It's always negativity. And that's just something that as you get older, you do not want to deal with. Number 10. Oh my gosh, I'm so passionate about this. Travel. Go somewhere. Be outside of your comfort zone. Last year I was interning in California. This year I'm in Georgia. In my study abroad experience, I've been to 6 countries, and that's something that I knew I was going to say at some point. I'm not gonna say I never thought I would say it. I knew I was going to be able to say at some point, I'm traveling the world. I'm making moves, I'm making strides, I'm getting out of my comfort zone. It just took that push, it just took that time, that right timing to get to that point, you know what I mean? So like I said before, what's meant for me was meant to happen to me. It happened to me in a way where it was just so lovingly crafted. But no, traveling is extremely important. Learning a new language, expanding your food palette, seeing the world past your 4 walls is extremely important, because education, especially in the US, can be extremely limited, and you can only get one perception off what the entire world is. And there are a lot of people walking in the US right now who think the entire world is the US, that the world does not move unless the US makes a move. And a lot of the times that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, we're eons behind what some of these people in Europe and Asia and Africa and South America are doing, but we're convinced that we're just the center of the universe. And you wouldn't know that unless you travel outside the world for a bit. You expand your worldview. And this leads me into number 10, which is US specific, but educate yourself past high school. I don't know when this became a super controversial opinion, but I'm not saying everybody needs to go to college. I know firsthand everybody does not belong in college, especially for what field you're going into. However, high school education in America barely touches the surface on what you're going to need to learn and do as an adult. Even if that means you're taking courses, if that means you're going to trade school, like Job Corps, if you're doing something outside of whatever high school is giving you, please do it. Please do it. Especially because of the fact that if a person with a bachelor's degree is being told that they can't get an entry-level job because they don't have enough experience, or oh, they need to have a master's now, what do you think is going to happen to somebody in high school, right? Like, so you have to take that initiative and educate yourself past the 12th grade. Number 12, and this is again something that I'm still learning, but hey, we're all learning here. We all have room to grow, we all have room to expand, but do not make present plans with future money. I swear. Most of the time it does not turn out right. And I don't care how many times you say to yourself, God's gonna give me the money back. I'm always gonna get the money back, because I've been in the same position, and guess what? I have gotten the money back, but at what cost, right? Like, you're paying credit card fees, you're paying late fees because you're not paying your full balance on time, or something with the bank happened, so now the money is not coming when you thought it was gonna come, so now the thing's rejecting, and now it's a whole thing, and you have to sit here and eat ramen noodles all week because you don't have the actual material wealth that you think you have. Do not make present plans with future money. If you are going to book a trip, wait until you have the money to book the trip. If you're gonna buy that bag, wait until you have the money to buy that bag. Don't sit here and afterpay your entire life. Don't sit here and Klarna and affirm your entire life, because that's just gonna lead you down a downward spiral that is going to take you a grip to get out of. Oh, and number 13, and I need to read off the list for this one because it says, virtue signaling and getting hyper offended by negligible things do you absolutely no favors. Not only does that fake outrage indicate how you view somebody's real life, but everything that bothers you is not a concerted effort against you and an attack on your life. One of the more like notable examples of that is the whole backhanded virtue signaling of,
don't waste food because there's kids in Africa who would die for a piece of that food and you're sitting here wasting it.
And meanwhile, there's kids in Africa who grew up with servants in mansions. The American that they're talking about is living in Section 8 housing, or better yet, the American that they're talking about is in a worse off position than the kid in Africa. But we need to not throw away food that tastes nasty or food that's damn near expired because for some reason that's going to affect the kid in Africa. And once you realize that this is virtue signaling, this will like really shift your mind and how you see people talk and how you see people think, because people can say things and they come out of their mouth and they want to sound like they're such good people, but then you really think like, oh wow, in order for you to hold this opinion, you would have to hold an overwhelmingly negative opinion about these people and about the lives that they live, like with the Africa example. Even with the Haiti example, like where people want to say, oh, there's people in Haiti that like eating dirt pies and live. I'm Haitian, so I would get that a lot. And again, there's people in Haiti who have servants who have full access to food. People act like Haiti doesn't have internet, they don't have smartphones, they don't have anything like that. They absolutely do. Haiti is not just the things that you see in the commercials when they want you to give 15 cents a day. Same way Africa is not just oh, Africans are poor and starving and all that. Africa has 54 countries, and you think every single one of them is poor? Okay. Number 14, take pictures. Honestly, it's the best way to preserve memories. And this is another thing I had to learn as I got older, because there's certain things I would look back at like, oh my God, I want to see how I was living in that life, but I don't have a picture of it. And I'm like, dang, because sometimes you're insecure. When I was younger, I was a lot more insecure about myself, so I wouldn't want to catch myself on camera. I thought I was fat my entire life. Like, I am about 100 pounds heavier from like 10 years ago than what I am now, and quite literally like every single moment of that life, like I thought I was fat. Oh my God, my stomach is protruding. Oh my God, my thighs. Oh my God, da 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 da. So I would not really want to capture myself on camera, but I look back on those times and I'm like, girl, you were not fat. Girl, just take the picture. Like, I would have loved to see, like, to go back on memory lane and see what I was like in 8th grade or see what I was like in 5th grade or something like that. But now I kind of can't, because I kind of trapped it in my mind of, oh, I look ugly, so future me is also gonna think I look ugly and not really gonna like these pictures. And I kind of hate that for myself. So if you're going through something similar like that, just take the photo. Number 15, and this is also something I'm very passionate about because I do happen to have autism, but if you show signs and or were diagnosed with some sort of neurodivergent, deal with it as quickly as possible. Now, little backstory into my autism diagnosis. I was diagnosed very young, like I think either when I turned 2 or before I turned 2. And it was because I was showing a lot of the preliminary signs of having autism. Granted, there's different types of autism and they were classified a bit differently back then, but pretty much I was diagnosed with something called PDD. So, you know, essentially a developmental form of autism where I was going to talk very late. A lot of information that I was supposed to be digesting at a certain age, it was going to be a lapse in how I digested it. Literally, I think my parents were told I would be lucky if I were to graduate high school. So to be here where I am now, almost about to get a bachelor's, I have to give it up to God for that. Like, that's not even something that I'm even going to play with, but a big part of the reason why I am able to be where I am today is because my parents took that accountability and that responsibility when I was young and said, look, I'm not going to get in my feelings and be offended when a doctor or a licensed professional that deals with children is telling you that something seems a bit off with your kid and you need to go get them checked at a hospital. So yeah, deal with it, please. Number 16, if your intuition is telling you something, don't ignore it. This can relate to many facets of life. I'm not even trying to be funny. It can relate to almost any facet of life you are dealing with, because your intuition, if you want to think about it again spiritually, it's like a little piece of the Holy Spirit trying to guide you to what is right. It's like a little thing built within you trying to guide you to what you know is the right thing to do. And even still, if there is a scientific explanation for intuition, I would love to hear it, but I mainly relate intuition with being spiritual because there's no like in my mind, logical like explanation to why you feel bad making certain decisions where other people can feel completely fine making those decisions. If you've learned nothing from this video, do what's right for you, wait for your time, and if something is not feeling right, if something is not feeling good in here, it's not feeling good in that gut, don't even do it. And that leads me to number 17. Don't feel like you have to rush to get into anything, to start doing something that you generally don't feel comfortably doing. Now, a lot of the times people think about having sex or doing drugs as one of the main examples of don't do something you don't feel comfortable with. And while those are the primary examples, it could literally be taking a job you don't feel comfortable taking, or it could be moving someplace you don't feel comfortable taking, or even going to a restaurant or going to an event you don't feel like going to. Because again, something that is for you is going to be for you, and if it doesn't physically, energetically align with you, that's not something that any of this is going to change. At the end of the day, the world is not going to stop if you choose to do what is right for you. And if people around you are making it feel like it is, then you kind of, again, go back to the previous steps of evaluating who you have around you. Because when you are dealing in positivity, when you are dealing with things that energetically align with you, people around you should only be encouraging you to do what's best for you, even if it counteracts something that they may be doing themselves. Number 18, hone your spirituality. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've talked about God a couple of times in this video. I've talked about honing my spirituality, having a little piece of the spirit like guide me to what I should and shouldn't be doing. And in that same token, you know, like if you're not if you didn't grow up Christian, if you didn't grow up anything like that, this isn't to like pigeonhole everybody into that direction. However, I feel like honing your spirituality in whatever it is extremely important, because we're not, in my opinion at least, we're not just dealing with the physical, we're also dealing with spiritual warfare. We're dealing with things that can mess you up energetically. And if that's something that you kind of just let flow by the wayside, if you don't evaluate who you're hanging out with, you don't evaluate what you give your energy towards, that's something that can severely mess you up in the coming years. And at that point, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter who's telling you what, that's something that can ruin your life. So hone that, hold that close to your heart, and make sure you never let it go. Number 19 sounds cliche, but it's true. Quality over quantity. That could be said for anything. That could be said for anything, even money, which I'm gonna get into a little bit later. However, quality over quantity when it comes to friends, relationships, things like that, just like I said, don't feel like you have to rush to do something you're not comfortable doing. Don't feel like you have to rush to add to something that you don't really need to add to. Like if you have enough friends that support you, that love you, that guide you through times of hardship and things like that, don't feel like just because you have 2 friends, you need to feel self-conscious about that and just befriend random people who don't really do anything for you. Stick with your 2 friends if those are the 2 friends you want to stick with. Number 20, this is something I feel extremely passionate about. All money is not good money. You hear people say that all the time. You hear people say that phrase a lot, but I don't think a lot of people truly digest what that means. I've been talking a lot in this video about going with what energetically aligns with you, going with what is right for you, not doing things that you don't feel in your intuition, that you don't feel in your gut is right for you. And that can include taking money. I feel like we live in a culture, especially now, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like it's a generational thing, because we've definitely been dealing with this as the generations have gone on. But in my current generation, I feel like it's a lot of emphasis on just doing everything for the bag, like doing everything to make money, doing everything just for the sake of, you know, being rich. But it's like, you're rich, but can you sleep at night? You're rich, but can you sit with the decisions you made in order to get that way? And even still, right, like even if you want to think about it from the purely like non-spiritual, like logical sense, I'm sorry, if you're working 90 hours a week and making 6 figures, that is not rich. Not in the slightest. You're working yourself to the bone in order to take home what somebody is making working a regular 8-hour shift, you working a 6-hour shift. Like, that's not wealthy. That's suffering for no reason. You have to be in a more privileged position sometimes to kind of say these type of things, because again, I'm not in a position where I'm going to be put out on the street, or where I have kids to feed, or I have like family members to feed if I'm not out here working. But a lot of people can't say that. So don't think I'm disregarding those realities when I say this. However, like if you're doing what you're doing and you can't sleep at night, and you're doing it all for the sake of money, is the money really worth it? In my opinion, no. But again, we are all adults here. We're making these decisions as adults, and as long as you can live with the decisions you make, fine by me. But no, if you can't live with the decisions that you made in order to get the bag, in order to get money, in order to do X, Y, and Z, dare I say the money's not worth it. Last but not least, 21. And again, I'm going to be reading off of the iPad because I'm being very specific. Don't let the negative experiences you face harden your heart. Always be open to live and love in your own way. People often think that being strong means not having any emotions, letting nothing faze them, but a lot of the time I realize that these people are scared. They act like these emotionless beings who only exist to be productive or make money or whatever, because deep down they're guarding themselves from whatever hurt them, because they know for a fact that they can't handle being hurt by it again. If anything, I think the most brave individuals are people who acknowledge their mistakes, learn from them, but still maintain their disposition. Now, I feel like I said a lot. That I wrote that when I was in Greece. I was spitting. I was spitting. But in all seriousness, I feel like one of the strongest things an individual can do is to live in their truth, contrary to what other people think about them. Being a strong individual doesn't mean not having emotions. It doesn't mean not digesting them. It doesn't mean just walking around this earth with just an empty, blackened heart because of all the things that have happened to you, not letting anybody get close to you. Because at the end of the day, that's just guarding yourself. That's just the scared little boy, the scared little girl hiding in the adult that you are, trying not to get hurt again. That's not somebody that's brave. That's not somebody that's strong. That's somebody that's scared. Somebody who is truly living in their truth, no matter who says anything to them, that is true bravery. And if you want to get to that place, you have to truly acknowledge the things that are hiding within you. You have to truly acknowledge the things that you don't want to talk about. You have to acknowledge the things that are going to make you cry. People are gonna cry. I don't know when it became a thing where like, oh, you don't like crying is horrible and whatever. Mind you, I'm not that big of a crier, and a part of that is because, you know, you're kind of growing up told like, you know, there's bigger things to cry about. If somebody's not dying, if somebody's not being hit by a car, like, get over it essentially. And that's not something that you should carry along with your life, because if you're not handling it by crying in your room, if you're not handling it by wearing your emotions on your sleeve in that moment, you're going to handle it by putting hands on somebody. You're going to handle it by putting a needle in your arm. You're going to handle it by doing something destructive that is inevitably going to cause even worse damage than if you were to just deal with your emotions in the moment. And I'm going to end 21 by saying that the pinnacle, the true essence of bravery, is to be who you are unapologetically. I do plan on posting more, you guys. Don't think that I'm just gonna take another 8 months off, but I do plan on posting more. I do plan on, you know, kind of being more interactive with you guys, kind of playing around with the shorts a little bit more. But yeah, I hope you guys are genuinely able to take this advice and do something with it, no matter how old you are. If you are a young teen watching this, if you're in your 20s watching this, even your 30s and 40s, I hope you can look at this video and take, you know, little nuggets of wisdom in there, because I'm a little smart. I don't know. But anyway, y'all have a great day, and yeah, see y'all around.